Gentle listeners, welcome back to the humbly and originally named Pat Flynn Show. We have our weekly guest of honor on, legendary strength coach, according to Men's Health Magazine. Yes, here we go. The same spiel as always. Dan John, it's wonderful to see you. Apologies for the absence of an episode last week. I was traveling, but here we are. We're back, and
Yeah, I don't.
it's always a joy.
It's nice to hear you apologize. I just don't think it's fixable. I think, I mean, the amount of sadness I could feel echo throughout the universe because we didn't meet last week is a tough one to deal with. Is it repairable? Because irreparable opposite would be reparable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so, but we will see. Let's just hope for the best.
There's a few words like that. Well, first off, I totally accept that. I'll never be able to make up for the failure that was last week. But there's a few words where, like, decombobulated. Could you be combobulated? Is that
I
a word?
spend a lot of my time combobulating. Yes.
Do you? Yeah. It's funny, if you fly into Milwaukee, there is an area called the recombobulation area.
Oh,
So
I love that.
and that's where you just recombobulate yourself, apparently.
Okay. Huh.
Don't you love it? Yeah. So there's a few words like that where it's like, okay, decombobulation. Same thing with the reparable. You hear irreparable a lot. So is it reparable? Anyway,
Yeah.
probably not too interesting of a conversation. But now, anytime anybody flies into Milwaukee, hopefully they'll think of us in the recombobulation.
Yes, they will. Yes.
So how's your past week been? How's training and all that? What have you been experimenting with?
Well, I have this state Olympic lifting meet coming up on May 15th, and so I'm training for it.
Well, that's news. That's very cool.
And what's nice is that since January 1st, I've lost 21 pounds.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. And I guess, obviously, I put on the winter weight, especially at my age, but it's at my age, and I'm not, folks, this isn't me. Oh, my age. It's a truth, and it's a hard truth that everyone jokes about that, that, oh, I put on a few pounds over Christmas. Yeah, Christmas you put on a few pounds, and Thanksgiving you put on a few, and the weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then New Year's you put. And the problem is getting that off. So it's been great.
Would you still? So have you still? I remember you cut out alcohol. Is that still?
Yeah.
Would you say that was the one big thing for you?
Well, for me, that's my ex. Yeah, I love. My friend Erica always talks about cut out. You have to cut out an ex, and everybody has to discover their own ex. It's interesting because I'm not pushing her this book at all, but one of the things I liked about this book, Just Eat, which I just loved, by a guy named Barry Estabrook, and I wouldn't necessarily. Some of you might not like his writing style. He's a bit of a jerk at times, but that's what I liked about the book. And at the end of the book,
I haven't heard of that one.
At the end of the book, he talks about how some people say that beans and nuts will, just make you fat. Well, he started eating beans and nuts, and he found them to be as satiating as anything. And one of the things I think we find with all of us is that, do I believe that, okay, there's 7 billion people on the planet Earth. Is there 7 billion ways of eating? Well, maybe not 7 billion, but if you're an American, especially, now I don't try to be rude to our international people, but because of the subsidized corn, wheat, soy, and I'm not being a psychopath, and dairy, our meals tend to be very heavy in those foods, and they're all pretty calorie dense foods. I think if we would subsidize black beans and broccoli and cauliflower, so that cauliflower and black beans were in every meal, I think the shape of America would change.
Well, I think you're onto something, Dan. It always cracks me up when I go on Instagram and I see like a meme that says carrots are high in sugar. I'm like, carrots? That's the enemy. That's the reason America's fat.
I have been telling you people for years, folks. It's those darn carrots you see Americans eating.
It was that propaganda from Bugs Bunny for all those years.
Yes. Oh, it's Bugs Bunny. Pat, I'm about to send you. It'll say here, I'm sending you my training program that I'm doing, and I'd love it if you'd include it.
Well, let's talk through it so we can give people a few some action items here. That would be fantastic.
Well, it was like minutes ago, so I might not remember.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
yeah, we're always interested to hear what you're experimenting with. So yeah, let's get into some details.
And the program is called easy strength for fat loss with Olympic lifting. And I got to tell you, in
I
fact,
love it.
you can ask my daughters. So basically, after I do the workouts, there's only two things I want to do, and that's eat and take a nap. Yesterday, I did a 15-minute meditation that turned out to be a 2-hour meditation somehow.
Yeah, I do.
Uh,
I do an 8-hour meditation every night, Dan. That's my goal.
yeah, but real simple. It's every day starts off the same. I'm doing a 30-second hang, which is just, I call it my poor man's chiropractor, and then a 30-second sit in the bottoms of the goblet squat, which just has become my go-to daily mobility. And then I do well, I'll just give you what I do now. So I do 3 sets of 5 of the complex, where I do Romanian deadlift, hang snatch, overhead squat, back squat. So
Mm.
that's 15 squats per round, 45 total, and that really greases me up. I
That's
mean,
very cool. Real quick, for people who may not have a barbell and using kettlebells, what would be a quick like kettlebell swap for that type of complex? Do you have
well,
any?
here's the funny thing: I'm using a broomstick.
Oh, well, brilliant.
And the reason I'm using a broomstick is that, and I may load it because I have, but the idea is I'm trying to get the, I'm trying to lubricate my joints, not break them up.
So this is a mobility complex starting
Yeah,
off.
you
I
could
see.
easily,
Mhm.
something as simple as, well, just honestly, you could just take the armor builder and just change the numbers. Go maybe 2 cleans, 1 press, 5 front squats.
Mhm.
So 2 double kettlebell cleans, 1 press, 5 squats. You could just any, honestly, 5 sets of 15 in the swing would probably be just as good. But I'm trying to get the specifics of the overhead squat and the back squat,
Right. Yeah.
because between all the surgeries and all the metal, I've got to I got to lubricate with the Utah seasons changing so crazy. I noticed the changes in the seasons a little bit physically.
Mhm.
um it's very simple. So hang, goblet squat, the complex, and then I'm doing every day, I'm Olympic snatching and Olympic clean and jerking, keeping the reps in the clean and jerk to just 3 to 5 singles depending on the day. And then the snatches are either 5 sets of 2. I do have the light workout of, pardon me, yeah, 5 sets of 2, the light workout of 2 sets of 5, 3 by 3, and then on day 5 I do a set of 5, a set of 3, and then a heavy double.
Hmm.
After that, I do a suitcase carry just down to the corner and back, and then I go for the walk, the ruck.
Right. Beautiful.
Yesterday was a short one, so I had the 5-pound ankle weights on, the 3-pound hand weights, and I went for 1.1 miles. um, some of the ideas come from Greg O'Gallagher, Rusty Moore, yourself, a few others. But what I'm doing is, by doing if you look at my movement matrix, you'll see the snatch and clean and jerk are on the far right. Doesn't mean they're better. It's just that's where they are. But when you snatch and clean and jerk, you're doing push, pull, hinge, squat, loaded carry every single rep.
Mhm.
And when you're on, and I'm doing what's about 10 snatches and 5 clean and jerks, even though that's only 15 hits, they're full body hits. And
Mhm.
then the suitcase carry, or the waiter walk, I guess, or whatever I do, I'm just trying to get that little bit of extra loaded carry in. I hate to call it my core workout because that'll run down the wrong road mentally for some people, and rightfully so, because what the hell's core mean? But the idea, I want to make sure I finish my workout and then do a little extra stiffening, which is a
Sure.
suitcase carry, waiter walk.
I like that.
And then,
Mhm.
and then what I've also done at the end of that, I'm I'm probably breathing like that. And then I go for my walk. And if the research is true, I've just freed up all those free fatty acids. Now I'm going to walk and consume them.
Mm. Mhm.
When I get back, um, my I haven't obviously I haven't eaten yet. I train fasted. Um, and by the way, gentle listener, I don't want to get into the debate on training fasted versus not fasted as a miracle. I just think this, at the at the cellular level, I think training fasted does good things for you.
Right.
Now, on a fat loss level, it's probably unnoticeable in 6 months. But I think Remember, folks, I'm sneaking up on 64. We had a baby shower for my daughter this weekend. When Leo turns 16, I'll be turning 80. When he gets his driver's license, I'll be 80. Um, so my mortality isn't isn't some interesting discussion as a 19-year-old in a philosophy class. My mortality is closer than it was yesterday.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so anything I do in the areas of autophagy or helping my cells rejuvenate themselves naturally and easily, I do.
Right. I think there's a lot of wisdom there, Dan. I mean, first off, the research, contemporary research on fasting is very interesting. There was a study in Cell Metabolism not long ago. I did a full podcast on it not too long ago. People want to look it up, where it found that intermittent fasting has, like you said, benefits that are irrespective of weight loss and calorie control. There is something
Mhm.
specific to just the act of fasting that is good for us
Right.
on many different levels. So even if you don't want to lose weight, fasting is still something that's worth engaging in, at least occasionally. And to me, it's just something that if you do it reasonably and responsibly, it can be and should be a eustress, one of those positive stressors that if it don't kill you, it makes you stronger, right? Mm-hmm.
Right. So, gentle listener, the word eustress, EU, it means good. You hear it in the word Eucharist, eulogy, the good story.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, at my funeral, the lies people will say. Uh, but eustress is good stress. And uh, Celia, Hans Celia, I think the way you say it, he discussed eustress a lot, but it never seemed to make, it didn't make the news. Everybody else gets into that little, that little thing he had, that little sweep. Uh, yeah. So,
Versus, by the way, real quick, versus distress, which is like that's when the stress hits a
it,
certain breaking point when now it's really just it's wrecking you. And look, there's a lot of the times it just comes down to the dose, right? Like, so
oh,
exercise we know can be a eustress. It's something that you can apply in a certain dosage and you grow stronger and healthier because of it. However, you can also apply so much of it that to a point where you could literally kill yourself, right? That's distress, right? But people typically don't go that far, but you can still over apply something that would otherwise be a eustress and make it a distress just because you're not being reasonable and responsible in the application. And I want to say mutatis mutandis, whatever you want to say about that for exercise, same thing for fasting, right? Same thing for fast. It's often the dose, the application, whether you're reasonable or responsible that will determine whether this is a positive or negative stress for you.
which is why you need such good feedback when you try something. Mike Brown, who trains with me, the original complex, I was doing 3 sets of 8, and he could tell within the second workout that it was not working. And I had to, and then I said, well, I'm doing 3 sets of 5. And he was like, he applauded me because I was taking this simple warm up and ruining my training. Now, you're going to listen to this and say, well, that's just a 3 rep difference. Yeah, but that 3 rep difference was undermining the program.
The 3 rep difference made all the difference. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And by the way, I just sent the program to you that I'm doing. If
Beautiful.
you wouldn't mind posting it.
Gentle listeners, real quick. First off, please, the normal petitions, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Comment, and then head over to chroniclesofstrength.com where I will put that program right on the show notes page.
Um, it'll be hard. I mean, obviously, it's snatch and clean and jerk are done. The Olympic lifts, I'm going extremely light now because I have so much time to build up. But the thought process is, 5 days a week, so I'm snatching and clean and jerking. So my technique is coming around. And by the way, this leads me to another thing I just wrote for the book, Easy Strength. So will you mind reminding me about this as when I finish this great point?
Yeah, yeah, I definitely want to hear updates on that. Mm-hmm.
So, so you're saying, well, Dan, you're only doing, a total of 10 reps on Monday and Tuesday. How does that make it? Well, but 5 days a week, I'm doing 50 snatches a week, Olympic snatches, not kettlebells. And I'm not ripping on kettlebells. I'm just saying the Olympic snatch is different. And then I'm doing, I don't know, 10 to 15, maybe even a hint higher of, when to check that, 15 to 25 clean and jerks. Well, a clean and jerk with 135 pounds still gets my heart rate to the roof, and it's no weight at all.
Mm-hmm.
What you'll miss for those of you who don't have a background in the Olympic lifts, when you look at this program and there's value to it, you'll get a sense to see how um, limited a program can be when you decide to add the Olympic lifts. When
Mm.
you throw in the Olympic lifts with big loads and a high level of technique, you can't be doing all this other stuff because you just won't have the ability. You will quickly distress yourself.
You won't have the juice, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, because I know there'll be people listening who might not be familiar with the Olympic list, but they like the idea of maybe incorporating some more explosive movements, and maybe they just have kettlebells. Is there a structure that you would recommend to somebody who maybe wants to follow the easy strength approach with kettlebells, but focus more on some of the explosive um,
Well, we could just
movements?
pull out what we've already discussed here. You have that 300 swing challenge. How long does it take to do the 300 swings?
In a day or the full challenge?
If you were to do the 300 swings in a training session, how long would that take?
Yeah, I usually say you should be able to get that done in about 15 minutes or less.
Oh wow. Whew, so you're
You're
okay. So
cooking with gas. Yeah. Well, we did when what oh yeah, that's right. Well, when we did ours
mm.
online, we spent a lot of time talking in between
And
sets.
that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. I would
Yeah, so
suggest
how long yeah, let me qualify that, right? Can versus should. Right.
okay.
How quickly can you do it? Probably pretty quickly. How quickly do you have to do it, or should you do it?
Let's
I
do
don't
this then.
care. I don't care if it takes you 60 minutes to do your 300 swings. I don't care. But if you really want to just cook with gas, most people, I think, with a reasonable but not crazy weight, will be able to get those 300 swings done in about 15 to 20 minutes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that might be a little bit too much to be repeatable, but let me just what I'm trying to do is make it as simple as I can. Um, let's just drop it down to 125 swings or even 200. It doesn't matter. You do those swings, you get the heart rate going, and boom, out the door you're walking. And you want to. And what I'm telling people is, workouts last an hour, and if it takes you an hour to do those 300 swings, thank you very much. If it takes you 59 minutes, it means you have a 1 minute walk. But the idea is the walk, and it's a walk, and it's that whole Stu McGill's gift of injury kind of thing where you're swinging and you feel good, and your hips are, you're getting your spine to rotate on every single one, which is something I had never done.
Yeah, you look like a dork. We can
Yeah,
say.
but you feel great.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it takes you half an hour to do the swings, half an hour walk. If it takes you 15 minutes, 45-minute walk. And the weird thing is, the walk doesn't have to be done like I do with the ankle weights and the hands and
The super dork walk.
yeah, today I'll be wearing a weighted vest too, so I can only imagine how many calories I'll consume when I get home. uh, but yeah, that would be it in a nutshell.
So just to clear, it's you have an hour. This is your time.
Hour of power.
You're gonna have some swing target. Maybe it's 100, maybe it's 300. However long it takes you to do that, you're gonna attack that, and then whatever is left of the hour, you go dork it up with a funky type of walk. Mm-hmm.
Or just stroll if you want to. If you don't want, or push your kids in a stroller, or walk your dog. Strangely, the idea, I cannot get over how much the walk changes the rules. I mean,
It's the most boring but excellent piece of advice for long-term sustainable fitness and health, as far as
it is by far a walking. I just can't sing the praises of just walking enough. And it's not because
and it gets you places.
And it gets you places too. But if you decide you need, we talk. But if you want to, if you're by yourself and you podcast, I just be careful, because of the lack of situational awareness. But and then so I actually put together a new pirate map because of this, and I am the new pirate map. It's I don't have it memorized as well as I should. Can you? But I'll just give you the basics. So
Please, yeah, it's sweet.
the night. So remember, my pirate map always starts with the night before, and I'm still making coffee, and I'm still writing out the to-do list. And by the way, you were number one on the list today. Good for you, Patrick.
Oh, lovely.
And then I call my new supplement my meta supplement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Metamucil. I take this drug called metformin, which I've been taking since I came back from the Middle East because that liver damage I have. But it's metformin, and might be everybody in the life extension community thinks it's $1 million. So it's Metamucil, Survey, metformin, and then I'm taking melatonin again.
Okay, that's close. Yeah, Mel.
I
Yeah.
I was listening to Art Devaney talk about not melatonin for the advantages of sleep, which are obvious because it's like for me drinking three scotches when I do it, but it's supposed to be great at the cellular level. And I thought, so my Metamucil is it's interesting. The most expensive supplement I take is Metamucil.
Mm-hmm.
Metformin is about 3 or 4 cents a day. I get a 90-day supply for like I think it's now $1.
Hmm.
So I can't even do the math on that now. The melatonin is nothing. I get it over at the at the pharmacy that starts with Wall. It's nothing. And so it's funny because I take those three things as part of my pre-sleep, and the most expensive one is the one that's over the counter that grandma
Yeah,
takes.
isn't that
Of
interesting?
course, I have to be careful when I say grandma nowadays. Um, Number two is I'm really pushing the meditation a little bit deeper now. That's one of my goals for this program. I'm still I do at least a 1 minute meditation every day with the app called One Moment Meditation, free online. Though I also use my Brain FM one. Yesterday, as I told Patrick, I turned a 15-minute meditation into a 2-hour meditation by falling asleep. By the way, if you fall asleep during meditation, it generally tells you that you're tired. So that's just something to remember. Meditation is different than napping, though. If you watch me meditate, you'll have a hard time seeing the difference. Number three, I'm still doing the vegetable thing, but now I'm being much more active with my gut biome break,
Hmm.
which is yesterday I did because tangerines are in season here. I don't know why. I did
Lovely.
tangerines with kimchi. Kimchi.
Interesting combination.
Well, you separate them out for a few seconds. I wouldn't combine them. Um, and then, of course, I'm done, and I'm also doing the Olympic lifting thing, which you all have. Oh, and then number five is every day I've put make a difference as number five back into my thing a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I found that it was a weird thing to look at. Oh, is this it right here? Oh no. Sorry. This is the rules of the Olympic lifting program that
Ah,
you have. I don't know why I have it there, but it's whatever. Um, and then the reason I changed my pirate map is that I've redone that assignment called the 5 twos that I recommend at my workshops. For those of you who don't know what that is, every so often I sit down with a piece of paper and I say, the 5 twos are this: 2 decades, 2 years, 2 weeks, tomorrow, today.
oh, that's cool.
And in my pirate map should reflect where I want to be 2 decades from now. And my 2 years is that nice little middle time where it's like, in 2 years, I want to weigh a certain amount of weight. I want to be, in 2 years, I'll be getting Social Security. I'll be on Medicare. That's the fact. In 2 years, Leo will be two, and he'll be in the terrible twos. In 2 years, Danny will be, gosh, he'll be in the fourth grade, which is when my brother Ray came home from Vietnam. In 2 years, you just in 2 years, all these different things can happen. In 2 weeks is the most believable amount of time I think most people can do a diet or a strength program.
Mm.
So my goal in 2 weeks is to still be doing the same strength program I'm doing now. My goal in 2 weeks is not to have changed my diet too much.
Right.
And you build that by the shark habits of today. For example,
Right.
yesterday was today's yesterday. Yesterday's, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Uh, I wrote that to be here with you with Pat Flynn in the morning. I made my coffee. I got myself. I've already done my 1 minute meditations. I've already done this whole. I've already taken my morning supplements. I've already.
Check
And
those boxes. Right. Hmm.
my morning supplements, gentle listeners, if for those you watch, you saw me do it. That's vitamin D, and I take krill oil because I get it for free from Kyle. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Kyle. Yeah.
But I don't I don't pay for my supplements anymore because
Nor
I have
should you have to. Your legendary strength coach, Dan John.
so I'm
Supplements
sorry
should pay
to
you to take them.
yes. So I take vitamin D in the morning, I take krill oil, fish oil in the morning. I know a lot of people still poo-poo fish oil. I just can't. I just cannot. It's like, are you kidding me? It's it's these great omegas that are just, and I see the difference in my body.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
fish
it would,
oil is one of the supplements that I have consistently taken for some time now,
yeah.
and I notice a qualitative difference when I'm taking my fish oils.
What got me turned on to fish oil, Pat, was working with adolescent athletes. And as I've told people before, and this is a cruel thing to say, but it's a truth, so I can't back away from it. I always, the skin is the largest organ of the body, so I look at people's skin very often as a. And I'm just talking to somebody who's going through a real rough time right now, and she was complaining about, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting these weird underground zits. And my first thought was, well, it's because you're going through, your skin is telling you that your life is going through a tough time.
Hmm.
So with adolescent, if you're a football coach and you look around your team and uh, there's a massive acne outbreak, you have an overtrained team.
Mm.
We used to, I used to notice towards the end of the program we called the Big 21. You would see in week 3, between the stress of the program and the stress of doing the program, kids would break out, and then the next 2 weeks, kids would magically, their skin would clear up and went to a basic fun bodybuilding program with a lot of throwing. So the skin, and so fish oil always seemed to help the skin of my athletes. So,
Mm-hmm.
and moms and dads would tell me, yeah, little Buster is taking fish oil and his skin cleared up. I'm taking it, and I can't believe how much younger I look. And I'd be like, there
Little
must be no,
Buster.
yeah,
Yeah, I love the idea of the 5-2s, Dan. That's such a good framework because it
yeah,
helps you to make sure that everything's sort of in alignment. And a
hmm
lot of times people, we have this tendency to just think very short term. But what the 5-2s is getting us to do is to make sure that the micro aligns with the meso and the macro, and
Well,
how important that is, and how
Patrick, how old are you right now?
I'm 31.
Okay, you're 2 decades, you'll be 51.
That's
And
right.
I remember 50 very well. I mean, I
Mhm.
remember turning 50. It had been 2008, which was one of the best years of my athletic career.
Yeah.
So one of the things, you're looking 2 years down the line, you might look at that 51 and say, oh, I'll be so old. And little Danny John is looking at 51 going, man, I had it going on at 51. And because I it wasn't as perfect as it is now. Perfect. It wasn't as good as it was now. But when I was your age, I was doing a similar mapping process.
Yeah.
2 decades. What's nice about 2 decades is it's, no matter what you say, it's almost believable.
Hmm.
If I said, and I don't necessarily want to get a doctorate, the school I started one years ago. It's a long story. I won't bore you with it. But if I said I want to get a doctorate in 2 decades, most of the people listening be like, yeah, 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 I could see him doing that.
That's
I want to
believable.
grab.
Yeah.
It's believable. Now, to do that means that today I have to go online, fill out the application, send them a check, all those little steps. And the funny thing is, all those todays and tomorrows will add up. That'll have my doctorate in 20 years. I'm not chasing a doctorate. I'm using an example. I'm looking at the loads, for the world records in the 80 divisions right now, just as to look at them. And I'm like, okay, to do that, A, I have to still be alive. And B, I still have to have some kind of mobility, flexibility, some kind of strength load to be able to make those numbers.
Mhm.
And again, I'm not. Oh, and one other thing, gentle listener, if you do the 5-2s, I really recommend you do it with somebody, and both of you do the assignment together. Um,
Yes.
Generally, the two I usually choose, because I'm an American and it influences. I usually tick physical and financial. And financial, in 2 decades, ideally in 2 decades. I mean, I shouldn't. I mean, well, I'm to the point now. I probably don't have to work anymore. But in 2 decades, well, you know what I'm hoping, Pat? In 2 decades, you and I will sit down and you'll say, legendary, philanthropist Dan John,
That's right. That's
and
right.
we'll be discussing you know, we'll be discussing every Tuesday,
Yep.
Tuesdays with Danny. There's your book.
Tuesdays with
Um,
Danny. I love it. Mm-hmm.
and the 5-2 thing. So I would go through so when I'm reading you off what I want to be's at, and it could be one or two or three things. It doesn't have to be a million.
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting. At the RKCs, when I
Mm-hmm.
have the tomorrow one, the tomorrow one is very often something as simple as I'm going to retype up my notes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because that is such a positive game,
Simple
simple thing. Yeah.
retention. I love
Yeah.
that.
I
Right.
love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, can I talk about tempo and tension real quick with the
Yeah.
easy strength?
Yeah. I love it. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, folks, if you're going to do any easy strength protocol, it doesn't matter. And I'm even going to probably write today a whole new, absolutely brilliant insight about it, but because that's what I do. But tension is one of the hardest things to do if you're doing easy strength because the loads are so light, is to remind yourself about tension. That's why in my perfect world, they're called fat grips, or I use fat bars. But if you're a great pull-upper, for example, and you decide to do easy strength, and you can do 50 pull-ups,
Mm-hmm.
doing just a few a day, you have to add load. Or to increase tension, you could put a couple of towels around the pull-up bar,
Mm-hmm.
or you could put something spongy around it to make your grip go from the simple grip to the raptor grip,
Right.
because that's going to increase the tension. So easy strength is about getting us maximal tension with minimal, less than maximal loads. Wow, that's
Mm.
not bad. And the other thing, if you do decide on an easy strength program to slide over to the Olympic lifts or anything that demands technique, then you have to rethink tempo. So when I'm doing my snatches with nothing, just over 100 pounds, Pat. I mean, there's nothing on the bar. I take the bar off the floor very, very slow. And when I hit to that, when it kind of slides across my thighs where the second pull begins,
Mm-hmm.
then I hit the weight,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the tempo has to reflect a big lift, not a light lift. And that
Right.
has been
Right.
so. Tension and tempo are, if there are secrets to easy strength, it is increasing the tension with light loads and understanding the tempo of the ballistic lift.
Yeah, it's interesting because we do, at least in the kettlebell world, hear a lot about tension. But in training in general, you often don't hear a whole lot about tempo.
Yes.
And what an important factor that is to consider in how you train, depending on what you're training for. I know a while back we talked about Devaney's evolutionary fitness, and he really emphasizes tempo sets in that. He's got a kind of this slow, fast then scheme, right? For the
Hmm.
muscle fatigue that he likes. He says, do 8 reps of some press for, you know, uh, like 8 reps, I think it was, at a pretty slow tempo, rest until you can just grab the next set of weights, and then boom, really fast twitch, right? So he is somebody who really emphasizes the tempo element of training. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to say on that. I just wanted to highlight that whenever you're training, like, this is a factor that I often gets overlooked, but think about how tempo might play into your training and how tweaking tempo might help you to be more efficient in achieving your outcomes. Mm-hmm.
You can actually go real time and see it. When I do the 10,000 swing challenge, I I I ease up my kettlebell swing tempo.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to do, like, if I'm getting ready for a track meet and I'm doing swings or Highland games, I'm going to do swings with the beast at about 10 reps. And those 10 reps take more out of me than a set of 35 with the 24.
Mm-hmm.
Because those 10 reps, I'm trying to actively throw the bell every single time. So
Yes.
I'm much more aggressive, much more hard style. When I'm doing the 10,000 swings, ain't no way I'm going to do 500 swings a day at that tempo.
Right. You
And
know
if
what?
I did,
You
the fat would start popping out of my
it would
pores.
just explode.
But I wouldn't do the 10,000 swing
Yeah,
challenge.
right. Yeah, no, there's a few tempo variations I've been having a lot of fun with. One is just pull-ups, right? So just nice, slow set of
Yeah,
eight, and then rest like 15, 20 seconds, and then try and crank out a couple quicker ones there. That
like it.
just seems like a nice combo. Another one is I've just been doing just sort of rack pull deadlifts
Okay.
with the barbell, but slow, just slow, good quality hinge, not crazy heavy, but like getting it from the pins, going just below the knees. So good
Right.
deep hinge. And then about 15, 20 seconds rest. Then I immediately hit a set of swings after that. And that's a very satisfying combination for me that I found.
That might be one of the smartest things I've ever heard for throwers.
How about that?
No, I'm serious, because you would get both sides of that equation. The late, great, good friend of mine, Brian Oldfield, talked about his best season ever is when he did everything in a rack. It was a rack deadlift, basically what we would call a quarter squat,
Mhm.
and a kind of a cheating push press in the rack. And he told me he was only training twice a week, and but the idea was he was it was very similar to what you just said. I'd have to remember, remember,
Well,
remember
what I
the
like about it is it's both the tension and the tempo. So you pick it up from the pins, right?
yes.
But then you bring it down really until you're just in a good full deep hinge. And as we talked about before, Dan, for most people, getting into a full deep hinge doesn't mean getting the bar to the ground, right?
No.
So I just go for me, and like I have the mobility, I can get the bar to the ground pretty easily, but I don't have to. Like right below the knees, I'm
Yeah.
in a really good deep hinge. The tension stays on, and I just do some pretty slow, controlled, relatively heavy, not like crazy, super heavy pulls. Um, Put it down, rest just a little bit, crank out some swings.
I like it. If I were you, I would continue to go down this path intellectually and see where this leads you. Because now the downside, Pat, is that you need a fair amount of equipment.
This is
So
true.
though,
This
so
is
your
done at a gym. Yes.
yeah, this your minimalist fans are going to be like, well, I don't have a rack, and that's true. But what's nice about this is that, like, for example, when you said that, my first thought was this would be a great thing for like collegiate throwers to do,
hmm
and collegiate football players, because you're getting the two sides of strength that I think are so important, that the grinding and the ballistic strength. Yeah,
Right.
that's
And,
very
and
good.
and it feels good. I do it about once a week.
Oh man, proud
Yeah.
of you.
Thank you, Dan. Trying to make trying to
Yeah,
make you
so
proud. That's what we're trying to do here.
that's right. Just so yeah, so I like that. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is called a pen,
Is that
and this is
Ratatouille on there?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
just
and
watch that movie fairly recently with the children.
it's
It
one of
holds
the
up well.
it's an amazing show,
Holds
and
up
this
well.
is called paper. And what I'm doing, folks, is I'm writing down this idea to
Now,
come back.
how does that work, Dan? I don't think I've ever seen this before. Is that you
This
take
is
that
called
that instrument and you what are you doing? You're pressing it onto that thin white substance.
and
Okay.
then what I'll be able to do is come back later, and hold on just a second. Uh, and now I'm making notes to write on later on, and uh,
Amazing.
yes, wow,
Amazing,
that's really,
isn't it?
folks. One thing I would like you to know, I do take notes, and I do come back and I rethink of things. And sometimes I go through my notes and I realize that these thoughts were stupid. And sometimes I think these were so good. Why did I not run with them
Well,
further?
that's what I love about this podcast. Like, if people haven't figured it out before, we don't come in here with any agenda or plan. We turn it on, we talk. We share things that we found helpful, insightful. But a lot of times we're in development with our
Yeah,
thoughts here, and I think it's been a lot of fun to kind of plant the seeds in one episode and then watch as those seeds kind of sprout in later
yeah,
episodes. So,
absolutely.
Should
Um,
we take some questions, Dan?
yeah, it's been a while since I've had a question from one of our distinguished listeners.
Yes. Well, all right. The first one comes from CJ, and
CJ.
this is a question I threw out on another episode, but I wanted to bring it back for you, Dan, because you've experimented around with um swing variations, I think, a little bit more than I have. So CJ wants to know, what value, if any, would you place on staggered stance swings? Do you use those at all, Dan? Or
Yeah, I got the same question on my podcast, and I said honestly, I've never done
I
them,
wonder, maybe it's the same. Maybe it's the same CJ.
nor would I ever do them. I think when you're doing ballistic hinges, uh, you're dancing on the edge of like I say, done correctly, the kettlebell swing is probably is a fat burning athlete builder, but everyone misses those first two words: done correctly. And if you don't, and once you start changing, and some people call that the B stance, once you start moving the stance around, to me, it's like doing a one arm swings. I got nothing against one arm swings until something goes wrong. And very often things go wrong. So and CJ, I'm not saying what you're doing is right or wrong. I just would not do it with anybody I work with. Having said that, you might be able to make your niche in our industry becoming the staggered stance guy, and the millions will be pouring into you because what the world needs is another way to do swings. Um, that was sarcasm.
Remember when that was a thing? There was like a 2-year period where everybody was like, no, you've been doing swings all wrong. Now we're going to do our swings with our feet pointed straight ahead. And this is the way swings should ever be done. Just like it became a circus. It became a cartoon of itself
I
at one
know.
point.
Oh, I go into don't forget, I was teaching kettlebell certs, and I would get there, and this is what my fill in the blank certified person taught me. And I'd be like, what the hell is that? It's a swing. And it's like, who is this person's team leader? Who taught this? And then all this rotation.
One foot in front, angled 10 degrees in, another foot behind.
Oh,
It was like a Monty Python sketch at one point. The arguments that people would have over like the swing variations.
When I say the cult of the Turkish getup, and I even warn on my podcast, I always point down, where do you see the comments on this? Fortunately, there's all these threads on like Reddit and these other sites that are just like, what does Dan John mean that you shouldn't go heavy on Turkish getups? What does he mean by heavy? And it's like, well, trust me, whatever you think is heavy isn't on a Turkish getup. If you're bragging about a 70-pound Turkish getup, I snatched 314 pounds. That means I took the bar over my head in one movement, 314. If you equate a 70-pound lift to a 314, I don't want to hear about it. What's heavy is when, as you get ready to approach the bar, you're physically afraid of what's going to happen on the other end of the lift. Mm-hmm. That's heavy. Heavy is when things blow off your body. It's not 70 pounds.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
CJ, I like where your head's at. I'm not a fan of it, but if on your exploration you come up with something that can defend it and make the world better, I want to hear more about it.
Yeah, you know what? And that's kind of an important general point, I think, worth thinking about. Is like, I don't have a clear answer to this off the top of my head. Maybe you do, of like setting those boundaries for exploration. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it seems like obvious to me that there's some areas where, exploring in that direction is probably a waste of time. It's probably, now I could be wrong, and maybe the great treasures await. Whereas there's other areas where, okay, here's kind of the boundaries, and there's some unexplored territory in here, and it's worth kind of, roaming about and testing different things. Something, like I said, I would need to think more about that to identify where I think those boundaries are. But there's something in that general idea that I think might make for a good future discussion. Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's why let me see if I can find them real quick. Yeah. So, should be right there. Here. So these are my father's book reports. Sorry about that. These are my father's book reports from when he was in high school. And it's just brilliant what these teachers did. I guess I better read this one too. So these are from the 1930s. And basically in this book, you were expected to read, in a year, you're expected to read 20 books and write these very short, you can see how thin it is, these very short book reports on this. And it's a very simple formula. It's title, author, nationality, which is interesting, born, died, the setting, time, place, the basic plot, the basic other events, the turning point, the concluding situation, most interesting character, your opinion of the book, your favorite quotation of the book, and the date you read it. And you would do 30 or 40 of those. How complete is that?
That's awesome.
It's not very complete. And there are 2 pages each, a nice summary. Teachers could go through that in seconds. I've also done book reports when I was in college, 15 page term papers comparing and contrasting two books. It was a great thing Dr. O'Connor made us do this constantly. Which one's better? Well, they're both very good. One is extremely simple and you're expected to do 20 books. One was much more in depth and you were doing two. So CJ, sometimes complicating things really gives you more insights. Sometimes complicating things get you away.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
we need
brought that
we
up.
and we need prudence to try and figure out the difference
Yes.
there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Next one comes from Matt. He wants to know, what is the value in holding a kettlebell either directly against your chest in a goblet squat or slightly in front, like 3 to 4 inches. Do you have opinions on this? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is interesting how that became a thing, even at certs. So Matt, I invented the goblet
Yeah, we're
squat,
talking to the originator.
and one
Get
of the
ready for
things
the right answer. Uh-huh.
what we discovered, and that's why I have people do the curls in the deep position, and I also have them do that thing called a heartbeat, where you just shoot it out. It's a extremely explosive bench press return, and the idea is, uh, what we've discovered, and I think you're probably on the same path, Matt, is that the load and your daily mobility affects where you hold the bell. So there are days where I can hold the bell on my chest, and there are days where I'm hanging it out there. And basically, what that's telling me is that my mobility is a little different today than it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be it. I don't think there is a perfect answer to this question. I like the question. One of the things I'd like you to do, especially if you are a trainer, Matt, is watch how people change not only month to month to month, but day to day on where they hold the bell in the bottom position for comfort. And you'll
Mm-hmm.
get a sense, I tell you, of how their mobility, flexibility is progressing and regressing, because mobility and flexibility aren't static, as anybody knows. It changes by how you slept,
On the weather.
on the weather, on that car. Uh, I can tell you this: if all your children in the back of the car, and your commute to their school is half an hour, and all they do the entire time is complain and fight, if you then immediately jump out and do a goblet squat, you will notice that your mobility and flexibility has been changed by your children's fighting,
How
which
about
is
that?
a strange thing to say out loud, but sadly true.
Hey, like life circumstances and stress,
Yeah,
like everything's connected, everything matters, right? That's the point.
everything is connected. Everything matters.
All right, Ian has a question about diet. He feels his diet is solid, but his body fat percentage is stuck. He wants to know if he should slow his workouts down and focus more on muscle building. So apparently he's doing, I guess, more intense sweaty stuff. He wants to break through a fat loss plateau.
Oh,
What's the
well,
general training recommendation at this point?
Pat, it's that funny thing I've told many people. One of the best ways to lose fat I know is to go down to a hot Mexico, Jamaica, Caribbean, all inclusive place and spend a week shoveling food from the all inclusive, drinking and hanging out on the beach. And at the end, and don't work out at all. And at the end of that, you come in and you weigh in and you look, you're afraid to look at the scale and you notice you lost 6 pounds. So what happens sometimes, Ian, is that our training and our diet, you hit certain places where the momentum simply stops and the body has adapted. So okay, so let's just go through some cliches. Fat loss happens in the kitchen. Cliche number one, Ian, if you're training, like for example, I've picked up. So by doing this Olympic lifting and this extended ruck every day, I've noticed that my hunger has gone through the roof. To deal with that, right now I've got overnight I soaked black beans, and I've got them in the slow cooker now. And so when I get done with my workout today, the first thing I'm going to eat is a large meal of vegetables and black beans.
Mhm.
That's going to be the first thing I put in. As I've picked up in my life, little Danny doesn't get fat eating black beans and fajita.
As long
It,
as you stay away from the carrots, Dan. Mhm.
it's the carrots. So Ian, so one of the things I've picked up is when I train really hard, I am so hungry that I need to preload my meals so that I'm shoveling down foods that I know that aren't going to end up on my belly. Um, in fat loss happens in the kitchen. Fat loss happens in the kitchen. Maybe take out one of your workouts a week and turn that workout, like Josh Hillis always tells us, into the chopping, the shopping, the chopping, and the preparation workout. That might help more than telling you to do 5 sets of 2 or 2 sets of 5.
Mhm.
Um, the other thing is that Ian, you didn't really say anything, but I would look at, if you're going to do a stretch of 6 weeks of really like hardcore fat burning stuff, follow it up with 3 to 4 weeks of 3 sets of 8 push pull hinge squat kind of hypertrophy bodybuilding work. Just real, I mean, boring. I mean, just you know, press, pull up, goblet squat, rack deadlift, farmer walk, doing mobility during the rest periods, the Dan John University go-to workout generator junk, because many, many people need to do much more gentle. Everyone needs to work out. Every American I know needs to work out. Having said that, we also need to get in those training sessions that aren't just absolute bonkers, dead in the water. I
Right.
can't move.
Spot on. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Hey, speaking of Dan John University, as a wrap up here, Dan, what's coming down the pipeline? What new announcements do you have for us, and what should people go check out?
Well, one thing Brian and I have been working on is we're working on a little course on goal setting. And I think I finished all the videos for it. I think I finished. So it's all new. So it'll be stuff, I mean, some of it'll be cut and paste out of attempts, but it'll be a whole bunch of new writing and new videos on the specifics. Um, that's why I mentioned the 5-2, the 5-2 exercise. Gentle listener,
Awesome.
this is, I'm probably cutting my own financial throat here, but that 5-2 exercise by itself might be, and I'm going to use Tony Robbins' concept of calling it a technological tool. It might be one of the best tools I've ever used in my life, personally and professionally.
I love when we call things like this a technology. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My students, in fact, I bumped into one last night uh, who talked about this assignment called My Life is My Message. So I'm talking to a young man who's 40, he's in mid 40s, one of my former students, whose My Life is My Message changed his life. An assignment he did as a senior or junior in high school. He decided because of that, he was a, I don't want to go too many details about the young man, but he was doing all these things, but he found that being on the tech crew for the drama and the musicals, he loved doing the tech stuff. Well,
Yeah.
that he wasn't very good in math, he wasn't very good in this, and now he feels he'd like to go back to a high school and teach math, because once he realized that what he was doing with making scenes in a movie, in a school play, and building and dealing with the lights was all math, and then he fell in love with math again.
Hmm.
So sometimes this little thing, and he told me, he goes, I realized that I should do the things I like to do. And it was weird because his academics suddenly supported what he wanted to do.
Yeah. How about that?
It
Mm-hmm.
was just a brain switch. So the 5-2s can be really valuable, really valuable. Oh, and one other thing, many of you, and Pat noticed, I've moved my office to a new location, downstairs in the bowels of Dan John University. With the 1,000 employees that we have right now, I needed a little bit quieter
Love it.
place to do podcasts.
Yeah, well, looks great. Dan, as always, a complete pleasure. So I'll finish with my usual petitions. Gentle listeners, go check out all the great stuff Dan is doing at Dan John University. If you like what we're doing, please hit the like button, hit the share, hit the subscribe. Consider taking just 2 minutes to leave a review on
2 minutes.
iTunes or Stitcher. Just 2 minutes to help us out, do us a solid. We'll be deeply appreciative of that. So, Dan, thank you as always.
Oh
And
no, thank you. And I did miss. I missed last week.
as
So
did I. Yes. Well, we won't ever. Well, I can't make promises.
yeah, can't make
We'll try
promises.
not to make it happen again.
You bet.
All right, Dan.
All
We'll
right,
see you.
love you, man. Talk to you.